If you haven't already noticed, friends, I am doing a full classroom revamp. Well, not full, but like a pretty big overhaul in my classroom. And so I thought it might be time for a little haul. Most of the things I found are on Amazon. Some of them I just kind of sourced. So let's talk through it. All right. Hello, welcome back to the Caffeinated Classroom. If this is your first time here, my name is Marie. I'm a high school English teacher in San Diego, California, and I love my classroom. Like, I love it. It is a space that I've worked very hard on to create an environment that is welcoming for students, that is comfortable for students, that is all of the things that I know they need and that like I needed when I was their age, and a space that I spend a lot of my waking hours. So let's make it somewhere that reflects me, that is comfortable, that other people enjoy being in, right? Right. I'm doing a whole setup series. In fact, I have a few different series in a whole playlist called Classroom Setup if you want to check it out from the things that I've done over the years. But I want to talk through really like the vision that I have for what I want the space to look and feel like now, and then what kind of stuff I have, what I've purchased, what I have sourced and found for free in other places, and what sorts of things I would be putting on a wish list if I were to do it all over again. Quick disclaimer, I have been teaching I'm going into my 17th year in the classroom. I also have owned a home for 10 plus years, more than that. And so I have stuff. So I don't want you as a viewer to be going through this and thinking to yourself, well, she's just like buying. I am absolutely not spending a whole ton of my own money on my classroom. Have I spent my own money on my classroom? Yes, absolutely, because that is what I choose to do. No one requires me to do it, but there are ways to create a space that is yours and feels home for you, that doesn't cost your own money, that doesn't also take all of your time and energy. And we'll talk through some of those tactics, and also make sure that you're following along with this series, because I kind of just like drop tidbits here and there as I'm talking through the different spaces in my classroom. Let's talk about what my vision is for this classroom and kind of just like where I was getting started. So a couple of things that I wanted it to feel like. I wanted it to feel like a library. I have done the coffee shop thing for a while. I love me a coffee shop. Just knocked my own mug of cold coffee at the bottom. It's time for a redo around my classroom. I've done the coffee shop thing for a long time, and it's not that I don't like it. I totally love it, but it's just time for a little bit of freshness. And when I think of freshness, I think of like garden and greenery. So I'm kind of making a shift from coffee shop to library with garden, like a library garden feel is what I'm going for. I also know that students especially, but like adults too, it's more and more apparent how much sensory need we human beings have during our days, our very busy and packed days. We need different ways to get in touch with ourselves, with our senses, with our bodies, to find calm. That's another word that I have. So sensory and calm are two of the other like big ideas that I have in my vision for this classroom overhaul. The last thing kind of goes against calm, but it's aggressively welcoming. I want to be aggressively welcoming. I want to show that my students that I am an ally for them, for the things that they are going through. This is a safe place that if they are here only to learn, great, sure, but guess what? Learning doesn't just mean academically. It also means as a human being, getting to know yourself, getting to know where you are in the world around you and how you can interact with the rest of the world. That is all part of education. Like it or hate it, that's what it is. And so being aggressively welcoming lets students know that they're going to be in a place where they are aggressively welcomed. I like using the word to define itself. Yeah, anyways. So, okay, let's talk about some things that I have sourced and purchased. This is not an exhaustive list, and not all of these things are new to my classroom this year, but like they're kind of at like the top of the list. I also don't have them with me because I've already used them in my classroom. So that's how you know that like I actually use the things that I'm talking about. So I'll put like little screenshots up, but I don't have them. They're in my classroom, and that's where I'm headed in a few minutes once we're done here. So The first thing that I purchased a few years ago was a Scotch laminator. And now they have a whole bunch of like different types of laminators that are cheaper. The laminating sheets, Amazon has a pack for like a bajillion laminating sheets for like $10, I want to say. It's great. You can laminate all the things. I like to laminate stuff that's going to go on the table for kids. It's great. One of the things that is bringing to life, well, there are a few things that are bringing to life the library garden feeling. One of them is foliage. I wish I could keep plants alive in my classroom, but it's just not really an option. Our air conditioning is iffy at best. So like the conditions in the room are not stable, and I don't have opening windows. I have windows. They don't open. The only way to get fresh air is through the door. So fake foliage is where it's at. I was able to go on Facebook, and this is my first big tip for you. Go on like Facebook or Buy Nothing or one of those types of sites and see if somebody is giving away, or like Nextdoor, and say, does anybody have greenery or foliage or whatever? I got mine from somebody that had like put on a wedding and had all of this greenery, all of these vines and things that they did not need. So that was Facebook Marketplace. Totally. And then I was like, hi, I'm a teacher and I want to create a welcoming space in my classroom. They were like, oh yes, here you go. And I was like, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I'll give you a shout out. Have you heard of the Caffeinated Classroom? I'll see you there. Just kidding. Some other things that I have. I love using mason jars, not just because I'm, you know, in 2013, but because they are cheap, they are easy to see what's inside because they're clear, they got the big fat like mouth to them, and I use them on student tables, and they're pretty sturdy because they're like meant for canning, right? So I have them on student tables. That's where we keep our annotation kits and stuff like that. I have a whole list so that I don't lose track, because again, all of the stuff is in my classroom. Ceiling clips might be the best thing that has happened to my classroom ever. They're the little, there's two types, right? There's the ones that just kind of like hook on, they're much more lower profile, and they have just like a little like S hook that goes on the little white piece that's like a triangle that goes into the runners between the industrial ceiling tiles. Or there's the ones that are like a giant paper clip that like, just look at my Amazon stores on there, but they're the best. I use them for all sorts of different things. I like to label, I mean, we move the furniture around in my classroom quite a bit, and so like finding where the tables go again is a little bit dodgy. So if you hang table numbers, you can find the center of your tables again. It's pretty nice. Another couple of things, and then I will totally have more on my Amazon wish list or on my Amazon storefront and our classroom setup, but this is getting a little long. I love contact paper, and this year I recovered my really ugly classroom cabinets in like a textured contact paper, which was cheap, easy, pretty therapeutic. I listened to a bunch of podcasts while I did it, and I just used a ruler to like get out all the bubbles. It was great. One of my favorite things this year has been these book rails that I've put into a new little corner of my classroom. They're just made out of like 1x2 and 1x3 wood. I'm kind of handy, so I made them myself, but I found clear book rails, like a pack of 5 or 6 of them on Amazon, that are pretty inexpensive. You just hang them up with really heavy duty like 3M mounting strips or mounting tape so that you don't damage the wall, but it still will hold things. It's a really nice little display. You can change things out nicely. You can put pictures up, you can put other sorts of like paper and things, you can put books up. It makes for a nice, cute little space that's also intentional and like part of your classroom. Books are where it's at. A few other things. The real free stuff is discarded books and supplies that you already have in your classroom. Head to your library at your school, head to your local library to see what kind of books that they are discarding. Rip those pages out. Watercolor them, draw on them, crumple them up, use them on the walls and in different parts of your space, because it really does a lot to warm it up and give it character. You could do blackout poetry with your students at the beginning of the year, or put that stuff up. Discarded books are a great way to have free decor in your classroom that's thematic and just fun and meaningful. The other things that I started putting up on my classroom are literally school supplies. There are pencils on my walls. There are pens and highlighters double stick taped up to the books that are up on the wall, the discarded books. It's super cute, it's super fun, it makes it whimsical. It's all in there with the greenery, and I pretty much love it. Okay, I told you I was gonna tell you about my Amazon Classroom wish list, but this is running longer than I intended. So what I want you to do is head to the description box down below. I will link a blog post that I have all about setting up your Amazon Classroom wish list for things like books, supplies, student consumables, things that should be provided by your school, but like might not be because it might not be in the budget. Sometimes people are more than happy to donate, so allow them to do so with ease. Check that out. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm gonna let you go, but make sure you follow along, subscribe, like this video so that you don't miss any of the others in this classroom setup series, and I will see you next time.